Are we live now, Chris?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, we're live. Oh, I didn't see the countdown. I was waiting for a countdown. Hey, everybody! I think we're back now. Jason had to switch from his phone to his computer. He just didn't change locations, and so we worked through the glitches. So I want to thank everybody for your patience. We can't control when we have technical issues, but it is what it is. And Chris did a great job running through the troubleshooting procedures. But you know what? It's fine. Jason, I'm happy to have you on the show. I'm glad that we finally got some of the issues worked out. It happens. It's okay. So,
Okay, Cliff, now you have disappeared. And everyone's gone.
Hang in there, folks. It's been one of them days. He should be popping right back. Cliff is also remote right now while touring the US for his son's graduation and such. He should be popping right back on. Jason, we're gonna make you big front and center.
All right.
While we wait, Jason, if you want to tell Cliff's viewers about yourself, might as well get it started.
Might as well get it started, right? So my name is Jason Bartlett. I'm currently living in North Alabama. Obviously, this is not your unique Alabama accent. I am originally from South Africa, born and raised. I was born there in 1987. And I started coming over to the United States to do farm work and contract work in 2006 and 2011. And in 2018, after a tremendous and horrible attack on my cousin, where he got shot through the back of the head and beaten and urinated on and burnt and told he's a white bastard, he should die, I fled the country with my then girlfriend, who is now my wife, and we live in the North Alabama. And things have got a lot different since then. In 2020, the 1st of January, I started walking from Austin, Texas to the White House. I had a Keep America Great hat on, and I had a big, gigantic American flag that I was carrying. I said to the Lord, if this is truly something that you've put on my heart, please open doors. And the doors swung open. Antifa was there waiting for me, trying to harass me. However, I had some Texans next to me with rifles protecting me. So good military guys tend to like the South Africans, and we get along very well. And the first day I walked 33 miles, and I averaged about 31 miles a day. Unfortunately, COVID hit me when we got to Crossville. If you remember, there was a horrible tornado that went through Crossville. People,
yep.
which I've got an absolutely lovely story. We tried to book a Airbnb and try to get hold of the host the next day to book in, and the house was no longer there. So thank goodness the Lord kept us safe that day. Longer story to that, but yes, I'm an asylum seeker. I came to the United States to seek refuge because South Africa is in absolute turmoil. If you look like me and you've got my skin color, you've got a target on your back. You've got government officials singing about killing us and promoting the killing of white people, to the fact that President Donald Trump named and shamed the pagan ritual leader, whatever you want to call him, of South Africa, the one that's completely destroying the country and ripping it apart. And South Africa's a DI project that's completely failed. And here we sit, thousands of South Africans coming in, and we're thriving. We are absolutely thriving because we're like-minded.
Well, and that's pretty amazing. I follow you on X. That's how I got to know you. You have a very positive message. But it's amazing to see not only you but the other South Africans that I follow how they are thriving and how well they do. To get back into farming and something they love. It's obviously in your blood. It's what you enjoy. I see you post every day about going out with your animals and going to auctions and I think you got some horses the last time you went
Yeah,
somewhere.
that's a pretty cool
You
story.
posted
I'm not
about
a horse
horses.
person, but it's a pretty cool story. I went to go buy a fridge on Facebook because I have freezer. This is the one that, well, it's not in the background now, but
Yeah.
I had it in the background earlier on. And I got there, and this freezer ended up me going back with a trailer, and I got four horses because the
Wow.
guy couldn't afford to look after them. And now I've got four stunning horses on the farm too, and I've learned to ride them. It's a spectacle of its own, but I'm doing it.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, I never really messed with horses. We had a farm growing up, but I know a lot of my friends out there love horses. I have a friend of mine that she's actually been on the show a couple of times. She's a barrel racer, and so she
Yes.
barrel races her horses, and she has a very powerful message. But it's so amazing, Jason, that I know for when you had to leave South Africa, how much stress and unknowns that put on you. But I know you put your faith in God, and He's allowed you to be where you are today. But for somebody who doesn't know, how does the asylum process work? As far, do you use an application that you fill out? Is it because I know President Trump has talked about upping the quotas for the farmers to come to America this year. And so
So,
for somebody who like me who doesn't know that process, could you kind of like explain it if you can a little bit?
okay, so currently what's going on is a refugee resettlement program. I'm not a part of that program. I came
Okay,
here
so it's a
earlier.
different program.
Yes, and I'll explain
Okay.
two of them in just layman's terms.
Sure, sure.
The one that I did is it's the exact system that the illegals use in this country to completely abuse the system. I mean, we have been here since 2019, filed for asylum, and we are only going to go appear in front of a judge next year, hopefully. It just
Oh
keeps
wow.
on getting delayed. And so we came over here, you plead asylum, you fill in um, a form, and then, for example, my 2 weeks later, you get called in for your fingerprints. So they completely vet you and do a background check. Most people don't show up for that, but obviously, being white South Africans, we pretty obedient people. We showed up for everything and done everything, so they know everything about us. And then you go for a interview with somebody. I happened to get a gay Mexican, so he wasn't biased at all,
Yeah.
and that's the person that America's got granting asylum. So even hearing our whole story, he just looks at me and just says, "Okay, well, you have to go to the court." So your immigration system is beyond flawed. It is corrupt, and I understand why Donald Trump wants to fix it. And then you've also got the sabotage going on in the current refugee settlement program, where you've got these black Kenyans interviewing white people fleeing from persecution and just intentionally screwing up their applications. We had someone, my mother-in-law, they called us and asked us a question. We answered the question, and they said, "Please call back on Monday." And they said, "Oh, we can't help. We've sent her application somewhere else." So they're sabotaging it because of the color of our skin, and we need to address it. Something needs to be done. So the asylum process is what a lot of people abuse the system for, because you get your work authorization and everything, but all they do is they plead asylum and they get put in the system and then never show up for interviews. And people like us who do show up for the interviews get punished because we just part of the process and it's so backlogged.
Of course, I'm no longer married to her, but my older son's wife, she was here on the Philippines on a H-1B1 visa for McDonald's Corporation, and we went through the immigration process, obviously, like you said, and this was 20 years ago. It was a mess
Yeah.
and very frustrating,
Yeah,
and a
with
lot of
thousands
money.
of dollars in the hole and
A lot of
almost
money.
nothing
I
to
think
show. Yeah,
$10,000 was spent 20 years
yeah,
ago,
yeah, yeah. So
and
it's
it's very frustrating. But for anybody out there who's going through the process, it's just like any government organization, any bureaucracy. They're going to have issues. They're going to have problems. My suggestion, or my if you're going through that, as painful and as horrible as it is, try to follow the process,
yeah,
because eventually you can get to the point. If you try to skip a portion of that process, it's going to come back and bite you. But
yeah.
but now you're here. So I'm assuming you have your green card now, or you're working to get your green card.
We're still busy with that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. But with that, I would love for you to talk about your farm, because you post so many positive things out there about your animals, your sheep, your cows, when it rains. And it's funny because I have a friend of mine, and she's in love with your goats, right? She just
Yeah.
thinks they're the cutest things ever. And so how do you go from having nothing to having so much in such a short amount of time? I know you posted one time that the best, I think it was you, that you bought a truck and a trailer when you first got here,
Yeah, yeah.
and that was brilliant. That was brilliant.
So I mean, you gotta. I wouldn't call it wheel and deal because I'm not a dodgy person. I'm more straightborn with people.
No,
But
we
personally,
wheeled and dealed my whole entire life.
yeah,
That's when
you
you
know
live in
what
the
I mean.
country, or you grew up in the country, we wheeled and dealed everything. I
Yeah,
borrow your tractor to do this or your trailer to
yeah.
do that. It's normal.
What's very nice is the relationships I've built. over time. Obviously, I've been doing a lot of political activism, as they call it, for standing up for farm murders. So throughout the years, I've met some very, very powerful people. The one guy I'm currently working for, because I work two jobs. I work from 4 a.m. in the morning until 1 p.m. at the golf course. Then I go home for about 30 minutes, have lunch, and then I go to my second job, which I work for a billionaire, which is very nice. He lets me do quite a lot. He lets me use all his machinery, and he gives me free financial advice. And then about 5 o'clock, I go out to the farm for a couple of hours if I don't go early hours of the morning. So my days are 14 to 16 hours, but I know right now I'm putting in the blood, sweat, and a lot of tears. And I'm being rewarded because the American dream is still alive. If you work hard and you pay attention and, don't go out partying, don't go out drinking and driving, don't do the stupid things, do the smart things. Put your head down and get to know people. Don't burn bridges, and just be real with people. People can actually sense it and feel it. It's like I got the truck and a trailer, and I upgraded. I had an old $5,000 truck, then a $7,000 truck, and I don't care what I'm seen in. And then I got a friend of mine actually passed away, and they offered me the trailer. So I said, yeah, I'll definitely buy that trailer. And then what I would do is I would literally say, cool, my farm needs to be bush hogged. I said, can I go and I'll get the service? I'll service your tractor and put new oil in, but can I use it for 2 days? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. So it's just the simple things that you got to do. And with the cattle are slow. I mean, we're paying like $3,000 a cow, which is pretty nasty. So we've only got about 25 cows. And then I've got a few hundred sheep that we're growing a flock. I only show my one flock because I don't want to show people everything, because there's houses and addresses that they can see and stuff. You got to be so cautious. Yeah, it's amazing when you've got an irritating smile like this. A lot of people hate you. So I try to smile more and more just for them, because I know envy will eat them from inside, not me.
Yeah, that's that. I think there's a little bit of delay, so apologize that on my end. We're getting ready to have a storm here, but that is so true, Jace. Growing up as kids, we had a body shop, we had a farm. We hunted animals, we skinned them, we tanned them, we sold the furs. We did that. My whole life growing up. One of my funniest stories is that we always had coon hunting dogs, and my dad was always a wheeler dealer, just like you talked about. And we had one of our coon dogs got out, and it got bred by a dog that wasn't a bred coon dog, wasn't a red bone. So those puppies to us aren't worth anything. So he would trade those dogs, and so he traded some of those puppies to a guy in town that had some chickens we wanted. But along with the chickens, he had a baby vulture, and so we get this baby vulture, and we never kept it in a cage. I was about 10, 11 years old, and it would sit on top of our house when it got old enough to fly, and it would fly down when we went outside, and I'd be out in the front yard rolling around playing with this vulture like it's a dog. And people would drive by the farm and see me outside playing with the vulture. It was quite funny. We named him Baby, and he eventually got to mating age and flew off, and we never saw him again. But for many, many years, we had a pet vulture, and it was just the funniest. We'd go down to the creek swimming, and he would circle above us. But one thing we had to teach Baby not to do, because this is what he loved to do. It's always good to have funny stories, but he would land on top of our chicken coop, and when the chickens would come out, he would swoop down at them and scare them and run them back into the chicken. Which, if chickens get scared too many times, the egg production goes down, and so we had to we had to teach him not to do that. But it is truly amazing, Jason, with your background and where you came from. I know that it's hard. I'm sure you love South Africa. I'm sure if everything was right, you would be right back there and doing. That was your home. I'm sure that you've always known South Africa your whole entire life.
It is home. I mean, where I come from is the semi-Kalahari. You look at that red sand, and it's not like this Alabama dirt. It's this red soil, and your forefathers fought in that soil. We've struggled in that soil. We never personally owned a farm. We always leased a farm.
Yeah.
However, it's part of who you are, your community. My dad is a pastor. He's just retired after 40 years of being a pastor out in the farm areas. You learn to know each and every farmer. You learn to know what they've been through. You've seen tough people before in your life until you go to Africa. Then when you see a white man in Africa, you know that's a tough human being, you know, because he doesn't just have lions to defend himself from. He has a whole entire culture that wants to kill him, and it's been like that for hundreds of years. Yet we thrive. Yet we grow crops for them. We grow meat for them.
Yeah.
And right now, what's happening in South Africa because of the diesel prices, many of the farmers are not going to plant this year. And I think that is going to be an absolute blessing in disguise because they, first of all, I believe they should have all stood together and just said, no more crops, no more cattle, nothing. Good luck. Because we all know the farms that the South African government have stolen and land claimed and
Mhm.
are destroyed. I mean, look at our
Yes.
farm. We used to lease 22,000 acres, and we leased it from black people. And then we hired those black people to work on our farm. So they're
Yeah.
getting money, plus they're getting money, and they're getting treated well. My dad was called Maruti, which is a Tswana word for minister, pastor. So we
Yeah.
were all well respected until even the chief, like we went to the chief, and you talk to the chief and say, this is our plan, because that is tribal land, and they gave
Yes.
it to us at a very good deal, and for them and for us.
Yeah.
And then the black government finds out and harasses them, telling them not to lease to white people,
Yeah.
which is not racist, of course, because it's black.
No. Right.
But it's just now on that farm from 300 to 400 cattle, there's probably a donkey. I know
Yeah.
there was 2 donkeys when we left,
Yeah.
and nothing there because they
Yeah.
don't know how to farm. They don't want
Well,
to
and
learn how to farm.
you saw what happened with the Zimbabwe president and the
Yeah.
South African president, and because Zimbabwe was starting a program to give the land back because they take the land and they don't know how to farm.
Yeah, I mean, if you can just, besides Egypt and Arabic countries, can you name one successful agricultural and great, well, non-corrupt African country? Because
Yeah.
I can't, and I've lived there. And you know what they say: if you've got 10,000 hours worth of experience, you considered a professional in something. Well, I've got over 20,000 hours living amongst Black
Yeah.
South Africans, and as an expert on them, there's no progress. It is all going backwards.
Yeah. And you see that in the cities. You look
Yeah.
back, you know, the guy who made the artificial heart came from South Africa, and you look how backwards it's gone in the last 60 years. It's really sad, or
In
any
some
country with that.
places, it looks like a nuclear bomb, a zombie apocalypse. I mean, someone's
Yeah.
getting raped every 3 minutes. Someone's getting murdered every few minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, children are getting raped. There's bestiality every day. It is anarchy there. And then obviously you get your white liberals who sit behind 20-foot fences with security guards
Yeah.
sitting on little X. They're saying, oh, it's wonderful here, it's wonderful here. But they're burning up
Yeah.
inside. They're burning up inside because they know what the truth is. And we can all see it.
Well, and the sad thing is that if you're a black person and you're working for a white farmer, you get targeted too. I mean, there are many blacks that are killed
Yeah.
along with the white farmers, and I think people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So you're out,
No, people don't realize.
yeah, and so
The black people also get. I mean, they're savage towards each
yeah,
other. I believe, if the white man had to leave there, it would be complete war. I don't think there would be any peace at all ever. I mean, there's no history of peace between the. You remember the black people that are in South Africa got there after the white people,
yeah,
and then they act like they come from the Congo, a very violent place. So the Xhosas, the Tswanas, the Sutus, the Zulus, they are extremely violent people. You look at Shaka Zulu, who murdered millions of his own
yeah.
people, but we say nothing about that. He murdered one of my forefathers trying to make an agreement and then butchered him
Right.
alive. So the death in our family and in our bloodline has just continuously happened. And that's why we
You know,
came
and,
to
and
America, because we want,
it's sad. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just say we want to live with like-minded people. I don't want to live amongst savages. I don't. I don't have
No,
to.
and it's sad because they all do it for political gain. You see it here; they create division, they create
Yeah.
arguments, they create a bad person for their own political gain, and this is what happens. Even in America, you see that to an extent, and it's just sad to see such a beautiful country and what has happened there. But Jason, I want to talk about one thing because as a person who has mental health issues, and this is the mental health warrior, you posted something a while back, and I want to talk about PTSD, post traumatic stress syndrome, because there was one day you were talking about the signs that you see a can on the ground, or you're
Yeah.
checking your fences. You do that because of trauma that you suffered, and if somebody who doesn't follow you, you can follow Jason Bartlett on X. talk about that a little bit, because for veterans out there or somebody like himself, anything can trigger your PTSD, and it brings back those vivid memories. And for a lot of veterans, for a lot of people just like yourself who's not a veteran but suffered trauma, it's a hard thing to deal with. And so, how do you deal with that when you say that? But can you kind of explain that to the audience about the can or something changes and what those signs mean? Because
So,
I think it's important.
yeah. Well, let's start. I went to my lawyer. Said to me here in the United States. She said to me, I honestly think you should go for tests as PTSD. And I'm a hard type of guy. I'm like, whatever, man. It doesn't really matter. And she booked me an appointment, and it was a lovely, lovely older black
Mhm.
lady that was doing it. So she was very honest about everything, very open. She just said, feel free to talk. Because it takes you about 5 seconds talking to me to realize that racism doesn't mean anything to me. You're not going to pin me down
Right.
with that, because I don't believe that. I'm a biblical Christian. And she, at the end of the day, just got up and hugged me, and she says, "My young son, you have got severe PTSD."
Yeah.
And it's the things like, I'll tell you what happened today, right? So I get a nice free meal at the golf course, and there's a black gentleman who cooks my food. We've become good friends, and he smokes cigarettes, and I was going to the pool after I ordered my lunch, and he's just standing in the corner, and I absolutely pecked myself. I'm like, I didn't see him there. Because he's got this black
Yeah. Yeah.
uniform on, and he smiled, and he got this big, beautiful white smile, and he could see. I went cold. And South Africans deal with war zones and with violence and with death with this a smile. Don't worry, it'll be
Yeah.
okay. This is Africa. And he just saw me, and I burst out laughing. But he knows my backstory, and he just grabbed me and he says, "Hey, calm down, dude. You okay?" But leading into that, it happens on an everyday basis. That's why these videos, none of them are retakes. They're just real. I just see something, I'm like, oh my gosh, I saw a Dr. Pepper, which it actually
Yeah.
was. Um, and I was leaving the farm, and obviously the people, take out and throw stuff. Sorry, it was a Bud Light that I originally saw, because the people obviously drink and drive,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they throw it out so that they can't get caught with it. And I saw this, and I'm like, hold on. And now I was in a different state of mind. I just moved the sheep and the cattle. I'm sweating. I'm hot. I'm not thinking straight. So straight away, my mind is like, okay, what's that? Go pick it up, because that normally sends a signal something's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, I started patrolling the fence along the frontage
Mhm.
road, looking for wires that are bent facing this way, looking for a rock stacked on top of each other, anything, twigs that are broken, any signal. Because the things that you have to go through, and it might not be a farm attack, it might be stock theft or vehicle theft
Yeah.
or future attacks. And stuff like what happened a few years before. It wasn't on our farm, literally my best friend's farm. I don't know if you know how difficult it is to have to shoot 25 of your own cattle, because people came while they were in the corral and hacked the rump off of them while they're alive,
Wow.
off 25 animals. They hacked it off. I'm sorry, but that's not a human that does that, in my opinion. That's
Yeah.
a godless
Yeah.
savage. And then you've got to go put a 9 millimeter round in 25 cattle's eyes. Not only are you losing money, you lose part of your soul. So you've got to, every time, you've just got to be vigilant. Whether I go to the Durban, to a beach trip with my parents, where my mother's earrings get ripped out of her ears, where I've seen a 12-year-old slit someone's throat for less than 25 cents. I've seen this in front of my eyes. My wife's grandfather was strangled to death while they raped the 87-year-old grandmother to death in front of him. I mean, this is not humane stuff, what we've seen. And it's
It's
awful.
horrible.
It's awful. And this just touches the iceberg. It doesn't even touch the iceberg, because these farm murders get called home invasions. I'm sorry, a home invasion is not cutting up and raping someone and boiling children
Yeah.
alive. That's not a home invasion. That is a hate crime enforced and encouraged by the South
Well,
African
and
government.
sadly, and you see it, is that first they do is they start dumbing down the population because they're easier to control, right? And
Yeah.
then so now they build up the hatred, and you have these things go on. But Jason, when you have your moments of PTSD, or when you have those things that remind you that you're in Alabama, you're safe, for the most part, you're on your farm. But when you see those signs, and that brings you back to them. How do you deal with those PTSD symptoms, right? For me, of course, I was at Pentagon 9/11, and I tried to unalive myself a year later, which had my brother not found me, I wouldn't be sitting here. I would have been successful. But for a lot of people with PTSD, there's triggers, but you have to learn how to deal with those triggers. How do you deal with those triggers as being a non-veteran? Because I know it's probably different than us, or maybe it is similar. But how do you deal with those triggers when they come about? When your heart rate jumps up or your thoughts go back to that. How do you deal with those triggers?
That's That's a good one. I think the short answer is I work. So I will go to the farm and I'll say, because I get tired, I'm a human, I work relentlessly. First thing is when something happens, I like to pick up my phone and make a video, whether it's for somebody or for
Yeah,
myself or to post or to send to my parents or something. I make a video of it because I feel a bit unsafe. So, you want to feel something. It's just a split second. And then this sudden dump of dopamine or something comes through where I don't know how I haven't burst out into full tears, but a lot of my videos I really do burst out into
yeah,
tears because I realize I look around and it's just me and there's no one here, and if this was in a different country and I experienced the same thing, I'd probably be chopped
yeah,
up, and dissected. And so what I do is I work. I will go and I'll say, okay, I'm going to move the sheep today. I move the sheep, and then something happens, or I think of something. Then I prepare the sheep for the next 2 weeks, and I work, or I go to the golf club. I jump on a tractor and I go mow grass, or I go dig a hole. I shovel. I come home and I work on the garden. I work, and it's probably not healthy, but I don't know what else to do. I refuse to take any drugs.
you know
I
what?
don't want to be.
One of the things I talk about is here on the Mental Warrior podcast. So we talk about having different tools in your toolboxes in dealing with your PTSD. I find mowing very relaxing to be on a tractor, and it sounds silly, but you get it right. To me, mowing is very
Yeah,
relaxing.
yeah,
And going out in the garden and working. And I'm sure when you're out there with your animals and you're messing with them and you're moving them or you're seeing how happy they are, or these that brings you at that moment joy. That brings you at that moment a little bit of peace. Well, before you are having a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of thoughts. And so that kind of
yeah,
helps calm you down. And I think anybody who's dealt with trauma, whether it's PTSD, military sexual trauma, or any type of trauma, or you're going through recovery, you have to be able to find those. And God made us all different, right? We're all different people. And so what works for Cliff Ballman may not work for Jason, or it may be
yeah,
similar enough that it works. But I always tell people find an outlet that works good for you. Don't ever negatively talk bad about yourself because that's never going to help you. And try to always find some type of good during the day.
yeah,
Because, one thing we were taught in the military when I was in the service is we had mass resiliency training that they sent us all through when the suicide rates went up. But one of the things that they taught us was hunt the good stuff. And they said at night before you go to bed, think about 3 good things that happened to you that day. And it kind of resets your brain and do journaling. But I mean, you do journaling by making videos. And so,
yeah,
what a great way to express what you're feeling. And I think for a lot of men, I think it's hard for us to express those feelings. It's
yeah,
hard for us to cry. It's hard for us to show a vulnerable side, very if you're especially a tough guy,
yeah,
type A guy. Uh, but you have to learn to have that outlet, and it doesn't make you a weaker person. It doesn't make you a weaker man. If anything, it makes you stronger. And I believe, and we talked about this before the show. I survived for a reason. I believe I'm still here because of God's
yeah,
grace. And so I have to try to help people look at things differently. And I think, especially with you, Jason, when you're talking about your trauma that you deal with, which a lot of people haven't dealt with anything like that. I think your faith in God, obviously, I'm sure your spiritual faith helps you a lot too when you're having issues and problems. But along your girlfriend now, but your wife, I'm sure she deals with the same trauma, but maybe different when she sees certain things too. Do you guys ever talk about that, or you talk about, hey, honey, I was at work and this happened and this bothered me, or do you guys just kind of deal with things on your own?
And that's a very good question because we deal with it very differently. Because, for example, what I do exposes a lot of our family. I mean, people have
Yeah,
doxed us, giving out our information.
yeah,
That's overwhelming for a woman who wants safety and who has, especially just had a child. So
Yeah.
we deal with it a little bit differently. For example, everyone like someone like Joe Rogan says, never read the comments. I go look at every negative comment. I love it. To me, it
Yes.
makes me thrive because I would never do anything to myself just because of those little guys. You know,
That,
I've had a friend recently blow his brains out, unfortunately,
yeah.
and I've had people hang themselves, and I've had a friend overdose, and
Yeah.
it's just not the answer. It's just
It's
not
not.
the answer at
It's a
all. You know, it's just not the answer. It's
no.
bad to everyone around. You
Yeah.
know, being the son of a pastor, I've seen that's what makes me, I think, so unique in this little niche of mine is the fact that I've got so much joy because I know the end result and I know the truth. I know what I'm fighting against. You know, so I don't mind someone commenting negative because they're not very smart. It's very easy to see difference between smart and evil. Dumb and stupid and dumb doesn't mean you evil. I understand some people are just dumb, but there are some evil people out there. But just don't let them get the better of you. I mean, how do you? I mean, I would say I definitely suffered from depression for quite a while,
Yeah.
and probably more situational depression, which is okay. But
Yeah.
I overcame it through the Word of God. I think that's the only thing that you can do. You know, religiously get up 4 o'clock in the morning, put yourself a little candle on, and
Yeah.
read your Bible. Even in the difficult days, read your Bible and push through. And I mean it in the most respectful way. Is suck it up and don't want else because you lose the battle. And
Yeah.
the people around you lose the battle. Now, do I understand that some scenarios are awful? Yes, of course, but yeah, it's difficult. It's a difficult subject. It's something that's not easy to talk about because I've had near and dear people really take their own lives, and it's hard sore. As a
Yeah.
man, I find it easy. I say a lot. I talk a lot, but I talk
Yeah.
and I say very little. I don't
Yeah.
talk to anybody about anything. I'm quiet, which is not a good thing, but
Yeah.
find something, man, find something. And what a big thing for me is I've just stopped about 6 months ago, but I play rugby. And at the age of 39, when you only weigh 160, you break quite even often. But there's a tremendous amount of veterans that play rugby here in the United
Yeah.
States, especially.
Yeah.
And I'm part of a nice little rugby club, and I think that's one of the best ways to clear the mind and just go destroy somebody, and then
Yeah.
stand up and shake their hands, and everyone feels better, and they feel better because there's no sport in the world that only has a pair of gum guard in it and a pair of boots, and you're just knocking the living daylights out of each other. I promise you, you sort your nonsense out in your head very quickly because you
Yeah.
realize there's more to life. You have to look after the person next to you.
Yeah. Well, and I think for a lot of veterans out there that, once they get out of the service, they lose their purpose, right? And they have to refine
Yeah,
their purpose. A lot of veterans go through that. But, I always say suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
yeah, that's well
You know,
said. Yeah, it's not a good thing to do, and it's not a good thing to look at it. I understand. I understand
yeah.
that there's problems, but I actually wrote a lovely poem, quite a long poem called Failure, and I'll probably make a video soon when I can somehow read the words without bawling. But
Yeah.
it's the end goal is why I do everything with a smile is because from the book of Genesis all the way through the Bible, you can tell the seed of God is under attack.
Yeah.
So every attack on me is a spiritual attack, and I'm not scared of that. I mean, the physical part, yeah, I've seen what humans can do to other humans. I can be
Yes.
scared of that. I understand that. It's not
Yeah.
just a bullet. They torture you where I come
Well,
from.
and
So
being a veteran of the Iraq War, and of course being at the Pentagon 9/11, we know veterans understand that.
yeah,
We're at that war, lost a lot of good people and a lot of good friends, but it's always important, like you said, it's to find that release, to find that outlet, because if you don't, it's just going to keep building up inside of you,
yeah.
and I think that's so very important. And I know we had technical difficulties, Jason. I know you've been up for a long time, but I appreciate you. I just want to say that, because I'm on social media a lot, just like you are, and I get the negative comments. You think with what I talk about? I mean,
So,
I've gotten, okay, I'm a veteran, right? I spent 34 years in the service. So I am a guy who avidly runs and works out, right?
Autumn, you're already a racist. If you run and work out, I mean, you're probably already a racist.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I said I did well, you walked a long ways, but I'll run 7 days a week and lift weights still. I mean, I'm 56 and I'm in probably the best shape I've ever been in my life. But
Awesome.
because that's my outlet, right? Your outlet's working on your farm. Mine's running or working out because I like to go out in the middle of the night and go run because it's so peaceful. It's dark. There's
Yeah.
no noise, and it just gives me my quiet space. And whether I run or walk, it doesn't matter. I don't run for time anymore because I'm not in the service. I just run however long I want to run. It may be
At
a
least
5.
you can run at dark time when it's nighttime here. In South Africa, you can't run it.
Yeah,
So we do it in the bright daylight there.
yeah, 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 absolutely. But I want to go back to something that you said. If you are listening to the show and you're having issues and problems, find some way to talk about it. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard, but find someone or some way to talk about it because life's a beautiful thing. We all have a purpose in life, whether or not you think you have a purpose. And sometimes you may have to refine your purpose. And if you're going through rehab or struggling with PTSD or mental health issues, just know that one day things will get better. You may not be able to see that now, but one day they will. And I know what that is. I know how powerful the human brain can be. The only thing we can control in our lives, Jason, is our thoughts. But
Yeah.
our thoughts control us.
Yeah.
I mean, you know this well as I do. Your brain can take you down a rabbit hole
Yeah.
and
So
throw you in depression for no reason.
a few things on that. Remind yourself. I like to man myself a lot of the times when feelings are the most shallow emotion humans have. So that's where the devil does his most work because it's the most shallow area. So remember, we got a word called futsak. Basically means get lost to it, like if you call to a dog. So whenever Satan comes in, I always say you've got to put the helmet of salvation on because he's clawing at your mind. Tell him to futsak or F off, whatever you want to tell him. Tell him to get lost because he doesn't belong there. And then if you, this is probably my most vital advice, and it might be a bit different, but staying in the United States of America, you have got a massive, massive problem with what the American people are eating. You are killing yourselves.
Yes.
For example, I do tests, right? So when I walked across the country, you get to know your body very well and what food does to it. For example, one thing I did get for free from America that probably not from the taxpayers is the celiac disease. So I can't eat gluten anymore because of how horrible the food is here. I mean, you can have a pizza and all of a sudden 30 minutes later you feel depressed.
Yeah.
So if I could say two things, watch what you eat immediately, starting tonight. You don't have to have a salad. Go have a big steak, but go get a good steak.
Yeah.
And then exercise. Go for a run or pick up something. Those two things, your mental health will probably at least be 50% healthier and better within a month.
Yes.
And that is a promise.
Well, and I will tell you what, I had problems with the gluten when I lived in the States. I moved to Italy 3 years ago, and all my lab values have improved. And the only thing that changed in my life is the food.
Yep.
Right now in the States, I will tell you about this. If you want to go and eat pasta, for example, so your pasta should be very light in color. And if you get it like the Italian pasta that they import, it's very good pasta because the gluten is different in the Italian pasta in America. Because the American pasta or Barello or whatever, if it's dark yellow, it's no good because the process of it has been changed. They use high heat in short amount of time, which changes the gluten. But everybody in America, you guys, most people have these nice manicured yards. You could turn your backyard into a garden and grow your own stuff. I did that when I was in Virginia for many years. And you can learn how to grow your own food, and you can learn to take the chemicals out. Now I know, the director of the health department, Dr. Kennedy or Mr. Kennedy is trying to change that, but it's going to take a while to change the culture of all the chemicals they put in the food, and
it's
a difference.
disgusting. I mean, it's. I worked on rice farms and I've seen what they put on the sweet potatoes, on rice, on corn. I mean, it's
and it's no reason for it.
No, it's no reason. However, like 97% of the crops in America can't grow without glyphosate. And who owns the glyphosate companies is China. So our food industry is controlled by China. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we
Yeah.
talk about a mental problem. I mean, the problem is the government. They're not here to help you. And whenever, look at that's why Trump is so hated, because he just went to the beehive and he's like,
Yeah.
and now everyone's scattering and looking around. I mean, how someone like Kennedy is hated for wanting to take dyes out, for people not wanting to eat Tylenol and eat
Yeah.
healthy. I'm like, the American people are dying. I've never seen a more unhealthy society in my life. Yet I'm 39 years old, as fit as a fiddle, play sports, never go to the doctor, and I have to pay $890 a month for my medical. Nah,
Yeah.
come on.
Well, and then you look at in Italy, that of course there's still a big smoking culture there, but they live to be in their 90s. They're very healthy and they're not overweight. But I can
Yeah,
go to I'm in the States for the next month, right? I am so paranoid about eating, right? I have to, because it starts bothering my digestion, because I've been in Italy for 3 years now. I've cleaned all that crap out of my system. I'm very careful about what I eat, where I eat,
yeah.
and what I eat. And if I'm not able to be, like tomorrow, I'm flying to my family's home in Kansas City and then down south. So I'll be eating good, clean food then, because I can go buy it and cook it myself. But if I'm in a hotel like I am now, when I go out to a restaurant, I have to really look at the menu and see how they prepare their food, or I'll just stop eating.
Yeah, I don't even go to restaurants, especially in the South. I'm sorry, I love the
Yeah.
South, but the restaurants really, if it's got a McDonald's and it's a chain I mean, I just don't do those. So, luckily, I married a chef. So,
Yeah. Well, you saw what Steak and Shake's doing, right? They went to all grass-fed meat and tallow for frying it. 1 June, they're switching how they
oh,
do everything. Yep.
all right, I might have to go there. I
I,
might have
I,
to go there and
I'm,
take a
I'm
look.
going to give them a try because of what they did. So yeah, you can look into that. But hey, Jason, I want to appreciate you coming on the show. Um, I want everybody to go out and follow Jason Bartlett. We didn't get into it today, but you do have a farm, and eventually you're going to start selling
Yes,
products off your farm. You're just not quite there yet.
yes,
And I would love for you, once you get to that point, to come back on my show to talk about it,
sounds good.
because I have a lot of friends of mine who've asked, because I seen you post on X about making your first small shipment of lamb.
Yes.
I love eating lamb. I come from a Greek heritage, and so I eat
Oh,
lamb so
yeah.
much. I have so many different lamb recipes that I love. It's
Well, that's
just
what I'm going to do when we're going to have a website soon that's just going to have lamb, and then later on we'll have beef, because I've been overwhelmed because I've got so many orders and not enough product. So I'm getting
yeah,
another guy to help me with product. He grows lamb around the corner. So
yeah.
I'm busy working on something. I just wanted to launch it properly and professionally.
Well,
So
it's also processing the animals. People don't realize that if you don't never realize how the meat gets to your table,
yeah,
that it's a process,
yeah,
and so and how you dispatch that animal and then how you skin it and go through that process.
yeah.
Something I did a lot of my life, and so it's amazing the amount of people don't know how the food gets to their table.
True that. You just buy it at Walmart, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's something that when you raise an animal and you do it. I mean, it's not easy to do, but it's necessary, right?
Yeah, it is necessary, and it's sometimes difficult to eat your own animals. But
Yeah.
I think if you consider yourself a custodian, I really put a lot of love into it. I'm not. Yeah, I would be lying if I say I didn't swear at my animals a couple of times. I've been a
Yeah.
bit pissed off, but you don't beat them, you don't torture them, you don't be mean to them,
Yeah.
because they're sacrificing themselves to
Yeah.
for you. So I mean, it's just nurture them, treat them with care, and I don't use chemicals. I don't vaccinate them. I don't
Yeah.
vaccinate my children. I don't vaccinate myself.
Yeah.
I I've seen what's going on in America. My blinders are off, and
Yeah.
I'm here to defend you and the nuclear family and help better this country. I really want to add, and my adding is my humor, my joy, my faith, and also my music.
Yeah. Well, I want to wish you all the luck. Please come back on the show once you get your website up and running. We'll be looking for all your posts. We're going to wrap the show up here. Jason, after I make it around the board, we're going to close the show up, but please stay on for a little bit. I want to talk with you. But hey, everybody, I want to thank you for tuning into the show. Sorry about the technical difficulties before, but you know what? Sometimes the gremlins run around and we can't control that. But you know what? As mental health warriors, we deal with adversity, right? We deal with problems. We deal with things that pop up in our life. And you know what? We got them worked out. Chris did a great job. Jason did a great job. And we're able to get the show done. So it's all right. So if things in your life gets a little chaotic, Don't worry about it. It'll work out. But hey, with that, you got Reads Across America. You can scan that QR code for a little $10, $15. You can donate money where they memorialize the veterans during the holiday season, or you can personalize ones too for a little bit more money if you don't know that. So scan that QR code. They have lots of fundraisers going out. It's truly amazing with what they do and how they support the veteran community. Along with that, Reads Across America has their own radio station. Yes, they do. And they're growing leaps and bounds. I've been with them now for 2 years. So Reads Across America Radio has their own app now. And so you can download the Reads Across America Radio app. And then you can listen to all the great music and all the great programs, podcasts they have on. Many programs out there support the community, support the veterans. But if you have the iHeartRadio app or the TuneIn app or the Odyssey app, you just search for Reads and you'll find Reads Across America Radio. You can also listen to it there. We talked about 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit up at the corner. They have great bourbon if you're a bourbon drinker, and they have a great cordials. Please give them a look-see. I'm going to order some to take back because my Italian friends love it. And Jason, if you ever want to come to Italy, let me know. You have a home there to stay, you and your wife. Be more than happy to host you at a house in Naples, Italy. But along with that, you have Veterans Mortgage powered by Canopy Mortgage. You can scan that QR code. Interest rates are coming down. Maybe you want to start a farm like Jason. Maybe borrow some money or take out your VA loan. But hey, give them a look-see. They'll be more than happy with you. But if you're still active duty and you're ready to go to Hawaii, lucky you, PCS to Paradise will be able to help you find your dream home there in Hawaii. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Jason, I want to thank you for your time to come in on the show. And before I close out, like I do every show, just remember we are brothers and sisters keeper. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. So, you know what? If somebody's gone quiet or somebody's having an issue, let's talk to them. A kind word can go a long way in somebody's life. And, to a lot of people, maybe that's all they need. And so with that, everybody have a great and wonderful week. And we'll see you next week. I'll be live from Kansas City. So see you later. Thanks for tuning in.